What's going on, Sumolings? Thank you so much for joining us for another product walkthrough webinar. I am Lindsay, and I am joined by the team over at Frase. Frase is an AI-powered tool that identifies the questions your audience is asking and creates detailed content briefs for answer-focused, SEO-friendly content. It is available on AppSumo right now, starting at just $69 for a lifetime deal. But before we dive in, there are going to be a lot of you here today. So I have a few quick things that I would love if you could pay attention to. The first, if you have any questions, the questions are going to go in the Q&A box down below the video. If you send questions in the chat room, unfortunately, I can't promise that I will see it. However, in the chat, we would love to hear about your use cases. We would love to hear why you are interested in this tool. We'd also love to hear where you're hanging out with us from. So go ahead and leave that information in the chat. And if you have any questions, leave those in the Q&A box. We are going to circle back to the questions. Yeah, we have somebody from Miami. That's where I'm from. That's not where I am, but it is where I'm from. The questions in the Q&A box will be answered as soon as we're done with the walkthrough. And then the last thing is that there will be a replay of this available. So if you need to step out, you can. If you're watching this in the replay, hello to the future. All right, I think that's it. Hey, Matt, how are you doing today?
Hey, Lindsay, how are you? I'm great.
Are you watching the number of participants?
Yes, coming up, we're seeing some people from Boston and Cambridge, which is where I am. I'm in Boston's North End in my tiny apartment here. I'm actually moving next week, so you can't tell, but I'm surrounded by moving boxes.
Congrats. I recently moved, and it is a mission. Did you well. It's
Appreciate it. Yeah, really picked a great time to move in the middle of an AppSumo launch. But what are you going to do?
It happens. All right, I'm excited to see the walkthrough of this. Sumolings, questions in the Q&A box. We will circle back to them after the walkthrough. And yeah, I'll check in with you when you're ready to take those questions.
Cool. All right, so I'll share my screen here. Hopefully you can see it in a second. Lindsay, can you just confirm you can see this for me?
Yes, I can. Looks good.
All right. Cool. So welcome to Frase. My name is Matt Hurley. Frase is a 4-person venture-funded startup based out of Boston, and we have been around for about 2 years and change, primarily focused on creating the technology you see in front of you. For the most of that time, our engineers have just sort of been sitting in dark rooms developing this technology, which about 16 months ago did not exist anywhere. And so really excited to sort of walk you through what we have for you today. But before I do, I think it's important to sort of touch on the thesis of Frase, the idea that the company is based on. And to put it simply, Frase fundamentally believes that if you create content that answers your audience's questions, that content will naturally be more engaging. It will bring more people to your website. It increases the likelihood that they stay on your website, engage with your brand, and ultimately convert. So we think it's very, very important that you understand the questions that your audience is asking. You create content designed to answer those questions, and you deliver those answers wherever your audience is looking for them. And that is what Frase is designed to help you do. So let's dive in. This is the sort of home screen of Frase, rather. This is the home screen of Frase. And there are 3 aspects to our tool, which are visible on this left toolbar here. We have questions, content, and answers. So let's go through those one at a time, the way I would use the tool if I were a Sumoling. So in the questions tool is designed to help you identify the questions that your audience is asking about a certain topic or keyword. So for example, if I were to go into the keyword search area, I might say something like featured snippets. And what Frase is doing now is it's searched dozens of different digital channels like Quora and Reddit and Google Search Autocomplete, different comment sections of many different websites, and it's returning all of the questions related to featured snippets in those sources. What's more, it's actually grouping those questions into different subtopics. So we have, featured snippets in 2020, we have rich text and rich snippets. We have ranking, we have Google. So you can quickly sort of eyeball this and identify the key questions that your audience is asking across many different sources about a topic of interest. Now, why is that important? It's important because the people asking these questions have a very high level of user intent. And these are essentially long tail focused keywords. So if you understand what these keywords are and what the questions your audience is asking, then you can create content capable of offering answers. And we're going to get to that in a second. The other tool that I want to show you that's extremely important when we're talking about question research is the Google traffic tool, which connects to our Google Search Console integration and shows you all of the questions people are asking on Google that end with a result from your website. In other words, this is an example of Phrase's blog. So if we look in here, we can see we have 28 people asking about artificial intelligence that are showing up to the Frase website. And if you click in here, you can see the top 3 questions related to that topic cluster. But what's even more important, you can see the impressions that those questions are getting, the position, the clicks, and click-through rate. So from a distance, you can look and you can see all of the questions that your audience is asking that they may or may not be getting answers to. And Frase helps you even more on the right side. Obviously, we need to create a lot of more content on Frase, but we're a small team, so we're working on it. But Frase is saying, hey guys, there's a lot of people asking about featured snippets here, but you have 0 clicks and 0 click-through rate here. And Frase is saying you need to create content capable of answering these questions because your audience is showing up. 3,600 people are showing up on our website over the last 30 days asking about featured snippets, and virtually all of them are bouncing off Phrase's website. So there's a huge opportunity there to create content that answers these questions so that the next time somebody shows up asking about featured snippets on Phrase's website, they find an answer and they stay on our website. That's the name of the game. So highly recommend you integrate your Frase account with Google Search Console. You can access multiple different domains with this tool. So if you manage multiple sites, you can access all the different questions and topics that your client, maybe your client's audience is asking about, or if you have several of your own websites, your several different audience groups are asking about. So once you've identified a question that you're interested in asking, let's just go back to this example. Let's do featured snippets. So let's just go back to this example. And let's say that we want to create some documentation that answers this question, okay? How to optimize for Google's featured snippets in 2020. All we're gonna do at this point is we're going to click Start Document, and we'll be brought to the document creation screen, which looks like this. So as you can see, Frase has already pulled in the search query, what we call the search query. This is effectively the search term on Google that we want to rank for. This is what we want to perform for. So we'll put that in here. There's 2 different types of workflow. There's creating new content and there's optimizing content. We'll get to optimizing content in a second. And there's 2 types of behavior that Frase uses to create this document. The first and the default behavior is Frase analyzes the top 20 results for this search query right here, how to optimize for Google's featured snippets. It summarizes those results automatically, it analyzes them automatically, and it creates our content brief, which we'll see in a second. The other option is that you can specify the domain that you want to crawl. So for example, if we were creating some content about, say, inbound marketing, we might say, hey, Frase, I only want you to crawl HubSpot.com because HubSpot invented inbound marketing, and I know that they have the best and most reliable content about inbound marketing. But for this example, let's keep it with our default behavior and let's go and create our document. So like I mentioned before, what Frase is doing right now is it's generating a content brief, and this takes under 11 seconds. Generally speaking, for you SEOs or you content writers out there, you know that generating a high quality, well-researched content briefs takes somewhere between 3 and 4 hours. And we've just created one in the time I've been talking. So let's take a look at what we have. The content brief is loaded on the left, on the right. We have topics, we have related questions, we have subsections that our competitors are using, we have statistics, and we have links for backlinking purposes. But what's more, Frase is essentially putting all this research at the tip of our fingers. So if we can click into here and we say keyword research, I can instantly access all the little text snippets that my competitors, in other words, the top 20 results on Google, are talking about for this search query, how to optimize Google's featured snippets. And with one click, I can add these snippets into my document, and these are already annotated. So you can do this with all sorts of things. You can add, look into context for questions. You can add, statistics. You can add whatever you want. And so all of a sudden, you're starting to compile your own content brief here. And of course, this is fully editable. You can format this many different ways. Turn this into an H2 or something. So you can really make this document your own. But let's say you don't have the time to really look through this and create a high quality content brief on your own. One option is actually pasting Frase's brief, which will actually, this is a great heads up, which will replace any content that you've already created. So make sure you know that. But Frase has an AI generated brief that's completely completed well. And it'll show us, sources, it'll show us topics, related questions, sections, and statistics. And when you're done with this, of course, you can export this via a shareable link versus via Microsoft Word integration, plain text PDF. And most of our customers, especially the marketing agencies out there, will share this with writers. And writers will take this and run with it and create high quality original content from it. Now, if you're trying to create your own content, you can do that too. You can use Frase very much as a word processor. And one way that we see people doing that is using this research toolbar up here at the top. You can access summaries of all of the content that Frase has crawled in order to create this outline. So for example, we have Search Engine Journal, we have Scorpion, we have Web Strategies, Ahrefs, Mangools, SEMrush. So you can look through here and you can click into the main headers that your competitors are using to rank for this search query. And you can use that as sort of a compass for what content, what topics you want to include in order to perform well for the search term. And of course, as I just mentioned, you can use topics as well. See all the topics that your competitors are using. You can add related questions, you can add links, and you can even access recent news articles about your topic or about your document topic. So this is really all you need in order to create really high quality, high performing content in a fraction of the time. Now, one question I get asked a lot is, does Frase have a content spinner, or will this, is this plagiarism or some version of that question? To be clear, what Frase is Frase is a research tool. Frase is not a tool that will automatically generate fully finished content for you. In fact, at Frase, we feel pretty strongly that any AI tool that tells you it creates high quality finished content for you is probably not being completely honest with you. What Frase does is it automates the worst aspects of content creation. It does the research for you so that you have the context at your fingertips to do what you do best, which is create original, high quality, long form content that will perform. So that is, in a nutshell, what the Frase content brief does. Really quick before I click out of here, you can localize this for your specific market. So the default is United States, but if you're outside the United States and you want to rank for Google in Australia, that's an option too. You can create a content brief that's designed to perform well in specifically Australia. So that is the content brief. Now you might be asking, what do I do if I want to optimize content that I've already written? That's a great question, and it's something that Frase can also do. So let's go and let's pull this article I found on the internet about the same topic we're writing about here. And let's throw it into our editor and optimize it. So one example of how to do this is you can just paste this URL, you can process this URL, and Frase will instantly crawl the content of your article, and here it is. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna import this into our document, and all of a sudden, you can see it right here on our left, this article that I just pulled from the internet. It's all in our editor. And of course, this is completely editable. If we want to change things around, that's possible. If we want to add things, that's possible. But something that's really important is understanding how our article, let's imagine that we wrote this, how this article is comparing to our competitors, which again, is the top 20 performers on Google. So if we look on our right, we can see a neat little paint by numbers tool that shows us a few things. First, it shows us our topic score. A topic score is a proprietary algorithm that Frase has invented to compare your content's topics to your competitors' topics. So Frase is saying you have a 29% topic score, and that's a meaningless number unless you know that this gold bar represents the average score across your competitors, which is a 32%. So we have a little bit of, we're pretty good, but we have a little bit of work to do to be better than average. And that's okay, because this tool down here shows us the topics that we're mentioning in our article and the topics that our competitors are mentioning. So for example, we're mentioning Google search once, and our competition is mentioning it once as well across 11 different sources. Now that's pretty reliable. So we're probably good there because we already mentioned Google search and we don't want to do any keyword stuffing, right? Now, keyword research, this is interesting. We mentioned keyword research 0 times in our article. Our competition is mentioning it an average of 3 times across 8 different sources. That's statistically relevant. I think that adding keyword research as a topic to this document is an opportunity. And the cool thing about this, we can go in here, let's say we want to say keyword research, whatever, we can rerun our topic score, and just with that small change, we've already jumped up above average. So, and also we're showing 1 mention of keyword research. So this tool isn't, the one-stop shop you need in order to improve the performance of your content, but what it will do is it will tell you, hey, listen, your competitors are talking about these topics, and Google has deemed these competitors to be highly relevant for this search query. So if you want to create a topically relevant document, topically relevant content, you really need to include the key topics that are related to that search query in your content. And this tool helps you identify that for you. And of course, if you click in, you can actually see the context that your competitors are using to mention these topics. So if I wanted to add organic search, I might say, oh, this is a good thing to add. Maybe we'll quote this HubSpot blog. Maybe we'll turn it into our own unique thought. Whatever it is, Frase is again giving you all the content, all of the context, all of the research that you need to create content that will rank. So that is the content tools in a nutshell. One other content tool that I highly recommend you checking out is the concept map, which is here under the content tools. The concept map is a really neat tool that really helps with people who are in the content ideation stage. So I talk to people all the time who are writing content about topics that they don't know anything about. And that's really challenging because it requires a whole lot of Googling. And so Frase simplifies this process by saying, let's say we want to write about 3D printing. Whoops. What Frase does is it taps into Wikipedia's knowledge graph in order to visualize all the key topics and categories related to a given topic. So if I wanted to learn, okay, what's what's the, the content landscape around 3D printing? I might start here and I might say, hey, you know what? 3D food printing, that's sort of interesting. We can click on that. Frase will reformat itself with new topics and categories, and it will automatically summarize the Wikipedia article about 3D food printing. So if you're like, hey, yeah, that's relevant to what I'm writing about, maybe we should create some content about this, you're one click away from a content brief about this topic. So again, you can go from knowing nothing about a given topic to having 4 or 5 well-researched content briefs in a matter of minutes. So really helpful for the content ideation process and creating content, or rather researching content relatively quickly. So these are the content tools. This is sort of what it's designed to do. And then once you have your content, we're talking more about delivering that content. So I want to be transparent here. The last tool is our answers tool. And the answer tool, what this does is it is essentially a new breed of AI chatbot that lives on your website and uses your existing content to automatically answer inbound questions. So for example, the reason why this is important is, you don't just create content so that when, a visitor shows up on your site and asks a question that your content is capable of, if they don't find that answer, they're going to bounce off your site, right? This is not rocket science. And so what we've done is we've created a chatbot that uses your existing content to instantly answer questions. And we can actually see how that works. Let's just go to Phrase's website, because obviously we have one on our website, and we could play around with this. We could say, sure, let's just say, what's your pricing? It'll find an answer on the website and instantly provide an answer, something like, what is a document maybe? And a nice CTA here. The idea, again, is pretty obvious here, right? Which is, if your users find an answer that they have while they're on your website, they're going to stay on your website. And also, you can direct them to custom CTAs to drive them towards demo pages or sign-up pages or free trial, whatever, free trial pages, based on the type of question. And then, of course, we integrate with live chat solutions. So if you're not about talking to a robot, you can always talk to a human. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, Frase is about a 2-year-old company. For most of that time, we've been working on the content tools, which I just showed you. The answer engine, which is what we're looking at right now, is a relatively new tool that we initially designed for enterprise customers. But after we launched this deal on AppSumo, we got a lot of helpful feedback saying, hey, we want access to this too. So after we launched the deal, we opened up access for 100 answers per month. And this is a question and this is an answer, 100 answers per month for Sumo Lings. Now, one thing that some of you might have noticed is that there's some technical barriers in the way of setting up these answer engines. We're working very hard to remove those. We should be up and running soon to make sure you guys can take advantage of this. But I think sort of in general, the reason why you bought a Frase lifetime deal is presumably because you believe in the future of Frase. And I think you've made a good investment, because a lot of our focus right now is on the answer engine, and we're going to be figuring out a good way to bring this to the masses in the near future. So Lindsay, I think that's all I wanted to share. I'll stop sharing my screen, and then maybe we can take some questions.
Totally. So we do have some questions here in the Q&A box. Sumo Lings, if you would like to get your questions answered, please put them in the Q&A box now. There's a lot here to go through today.
Looks like it.
So I'm going to go through some of them that seem specific to this product. I'm not going to be naming like, how does this product compare to insert thing here, because I'm worried that we're going to get carried away and have too many questions. So this first question is, can you put in existing blog posts to optimize them for SEO? How would this work?
Absolutely. That's one of the key features of Frase. That's the content optimization tool. Maybe I should just keep sharing my screen. Does that make sense, Lindsay? So I
Yeah.
can sort of walk through these
Show us.
individually. Okay. So, if you want to optimize content for your blog post, you might say, hey, I'm writing a blog post, what are the best pizza toppings? I don't know. And then all you would do is switch from creating new content to import and optimize content. You throw your existing URL in here, and then we'll be in the content optimization tool that I showed you earlier. So short answer, absolutely, highly recommend you do that. And one other thing that I recommend you do, you can actually optimize content that's not yet published, which is great for most workflows. So if we go back into this example, all you would do is instead of processing a URL here, you just copy and paste content from a Word document or a Google Doc or whatever, WordPress or whatever, you throw it in here. Frase will consume all that content and help you optimize it before you publish, so that you know when you do publish that content, you're SEO strong out of the gate.
Awesome, thank you. We have a question here from somebody who has already purchased a couple codes. I purchased one code 2 days back. Now, if I buy one more code, will my 30 document limit be lifted and I will get unlimited document growth plan? Or do I have to purchase 2 fresh codes? Should just
one more code. Yeah, one more code and you'll be at unlimited docs.
Amazing. What if I don't have a lot of traffic yet to your site, or don't have much data in Google Search Console?
I'd say that's okay. If I were you, what I would focus on is creating content, absolutely. And the way I would do that is, understanding what your audience cares about. You don't necessarily need your Google Search Console integration in order to know what your audience is asking. You can still use the open web question research tool to say, hey, you know what? People are asking about pizza toppings on Quora and Reddit. Now I know all the questions that they're asking about. And then you go and create content capable of offering those answers. And the next time those people search for that question on Google, they're going to find your website. So Frase is a great place to start when you're starting at nothing.
Awesome. We get this question a lot regarding limits. Can you let us know what happens when our 100 questions run out for the month?
Yeah, so this is a great question, and one that's associated with sort of what I was describing as giving access to our enterprise tool to AppSumo links because of feedback. Right now, there's no system automation that's going to shut down your tool or automatically charge you money if you go over 100 questions per month. What will be happening is I or my CEO will be looking at all of the bots that have been installed on multiple websites. And if you go over 100 questions in a month, we'll probably send you an email and we'll say, hey man, you're going over 100 questions a month, and we'll talk about upgrading plans at that point. We're not going to pull the rug out from under you or anything like that.
How very kind of you. Thank you. All right. For Google Search Console to work, does it need to be able to connect to any Google Analytics information?
No, Google Search Console is its own Google product. And so we are just pulling data from that tool. It's not connected to Google Analytics or at all.
All right. Can we see what clients of our competitors are asking?
Can you see what clients of your competitors are asking? That is an interesting question. Yes, I suppose you can. One interesting way to probably do that is to use your client's competitor names as a keyword. So if I were to, look at this, maybe I would say something like, let's say MarketMuse. I've never done this search before. Let's see what happens. So interestingly, yeah, people are asking about AI in SEO. People are asking about AI in content marketing. Yeah, so it probably depends on the competitor, but that might be an interesting hack to see what your competitors are asking.
Fun, I like it. All right, we got this question 3 times in a row from 3 different people.
Oh, great.
It's a very basic question. How do we connect our Frase account to Google Console? And can you connect multiple accounts?
Great question. Yes. So hopefully you can still see my screen. What you need to do is go to settings, go to integrations. There's going to be a little green button, say integrate here. What it's going to ask you then is let's just disable this integration and let's start. So it's going to ask you to integrate. You're going to sync to your Google Search Console. It's going to ask you what account you want to use for the integration. Now the key here is you must have your Google Search Console. You must give permission to this email address here in order to access your Google Search Consoles. So if your Google Search Console different URLs are giving multiple different email addresses access, the email account that you use to connect to Frase must have permissions to access those Google Search Console websites. So for example, if we were to look in here into the questions tool, once we've done that, so the integration is finished here, and I have 3 different Google Search Console accounts, and you can see them in this drop-down menu right here. Hope that helps.
Looks great, yeah. So kind of piggybacking-ish off that, is there a limit on the number of domains that could be connected?
Nope, unlimited.
Cool, very fun. You were right about, is it only an English question? Yes, it is only in English. I'm trying to answer everybody as the questions come in. All right. Would you say this program is suitable? We had a lot, okay, so let me preface this. We had a lot of questions about different use cases across different industries. We've had some medical professionals, we've had some spiritual leaders, we've had, this question is about solopreneurs. So could you just speak to the different use cases that can get something out of this?
Yeah, so I think, that's a really interesting question. I actually think that there are 2 questions rolled up into that. I think the first question is, what are the use cases? And the second questions are, what are the industries that Frase is suitable for? So let me start with the second one. What are the industries Frase is suitable for? The quick answer is any industry. What Frase fundamentally does is it researches content online related to your topic of interest. So if I wanted to say something like yoga positions and research questions about yoga positions, I could do that, right? And I can understand the questions, what yoga poses to avoid when pregnant. I can go and create content to answer this question for my audience. So it doesn't matter what industry you are in or who your audience is. With Frase, you can identify and create content capable of answering any question that anybody associated with any industry is asking. Now that's the answer to the second question. The answer to the first question, I think, is use cases. And to put it simply, I would say the usage between on our tool is probably evenly split between marketing agencies who are creating tons of content all the time, between solopreneurs or freelancers who are often creating content that they're not necessarily experts in, have clients in the plumbing industry or the law or dentists or whatnot, and they need to quickly research content and create content for those industries. And then people who are the last group is people who are marketers at a bigger company who want to impress their boss or get a raise by reducing the time and reducing the cost for creating high quality long form content. So those, I'd say, are probably the most common use cases. But of course, Frase, if you're interested in creating high quality content, Frase can really suit anybody.
Awesome, thank you. And hopefully that answers some of the questions that we've received. We have a bunch of questions here about a chatbot. They all came in at the same time. So I'm guessing it's when you were talking about it. The chatbot is placed on a website via a head script, question mark?
Yep, a JavaScript snippet in the header pages, or in the headers of your web pages.
All right. And then what are the limits on chatbot usage? How many sites, client sites, etc.?
Yeah, so right now we're limiting it to 1 site per user and 100 questions per month. Now that said, I did mention, we're sort of figuring this out and figuring out sort of what, 5 days ago, this was our enterprise tool. And now we're exploring more options. And so we may open this up and make it more available, maybe in a sort of a freemium business model, but we're not sure about that yet, so don't quote me. So right now, we're at 1 site and 100 answers per month.
Amazing. We've had some people asking about training videos or potentially working one-on-one with somebody to show them how to do more phrase stuff. Is this available? Sure. And how can they learn more about the product? Absolutely.
So I would say probably the number 1 resource for getting started is, if you go to Frase.io, that's our homepage, scroll down to the footer here, and you'll find guides. Now these are our getting started guides, and they'll sort of give you the high level information you need to get started with researching questions, with creating content, and with delivering answers. Now, if you want some training videos, go to help.frase.io, and this is our help center. We have some helpful videos in here, getting started videos that you can watch. If you've enjoyed hearing my lovely voice for the last 37 minutes, you can hear it some more by watching these videos.
Thank you. All right. What happens if we use the recommended content without changing anything?
You would end up with a weirdly formatted content brief on your website, which would have a list of topics, a list of statistics, a list of links, and it wouldn't look like any sort of article that I've ever seen. So I would not recommend doing that.
Great. All right. We're getting questions about a WordPress integration. Does this exist / is it the only option? We've had both questions. 1, is there a WordPress integration? And 2, is this only a WordPress integration?
Great question on the WordPress integration. And I actually should probably correct the record here. After launching AppSumo, we got, thousands and thousands of new users overnight. And we very quickly discovered many different bugs in the WordPress integration that we were not aware of before. And so we've actually disabled that integration. But that's not a big deal, I don't think, because most of the users that I talk to are perfectly happy just copying and pasting from Frase to WordPress anyway. So that's probably what I would recommend in the interim before we find out a way to resolve that problem over the long term.
Great, thank you. All right. We have more questions about, can I use this to reverse engineer what my rivals are ranking for? I feel like we briefly covered that. If I understand
reverse engineer is what your rivals are ranking for. You can certainly identify, the questions that your audience is asking, and identifying, the sources that are ranking for those questions. So yeah, that's certainly a possibility. I think I showed how to search questions related to your competitors. That's not the way the tool's designed, but a savvy user can probably figure out a way to use it for that purpose.
Great. What is the difference between the filter by domain and the limit search by domain?
Filter by, so filter by domain is related to question research. So that's what we're looking at right here. So if we wanted to say, only show me questions on Quora, we could do that on this page. For limiting search by domain, that refers to the content creation process. So if I wanted to create an article, let's just do it inbound marketing, and I wanted to say, hey, you know what? I don't trust Google. I only want to see HubSpot.com. We can create a document, and what you'll see as soon as this content brief generates is that it's only crawling HubSpot. You see these little, so all the sources are coming from HubSpot. And so that's sort of how you can specify, specify content from a specific website. And back to the questions about competitors, I haven't given this much thought, but you could potentially identify key search topics and only search for your competitors' websites for those topics. Maybe that would be an interesting thing to look at as well. But if we were to look at the summaries for the sources that this content brief has crawled, you can see that they're all HubSpot. That's the difference.
Awesome, thank you. Any suggestions for trying to optimize/create a document for a listicle type post?
A listicle?
Yeah.
What? I don't know what that word means. like a post with a list in it?
Yeah. That's the exact.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I guess what I would say, great vocab. Well, I guess what I would say is, in my question research, I would probably do something like, or in my document creation rather, I might say top 10 yoga positions, right? Something like that. And then the sources that my document will crawl will be list type sources. And we can pull out, top 10 lists from there and use that as sort of inspiration. So top 10 yoga poses, 10 poses that stand the test of time, 12 must-know yoga poses, you get the idea.
Great. We have some questions about the plans on AppSumo. A few Sumo have asked, and I can answer this. If you've bought one code and you want to buy a second code, you could totally do that and stack them. It's super easy to do. You don't have to buy both codes at the same time. Somebody asks, though, there was a mention of somebody having bought 3 codes, even though there's the only option for 2. Is there any benefit to purchasing 3 codes?
I would love to keep your money, but I recommend you refund that 3rd code because there is no benefit.
Great. Do you have an affiliate program?
Yes, we do. The affiliate program is actually mentioned in one of my AppSumo posts on the deal page. I think it's mentioned AppSumo deal page. Here we go. I believe it's mentioned here if you're looking for it. Yeah. So affiliate program link right here.
Cool, thank you. I hate this question because of my job, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Could Frase replace a content writer's work partially or completely? Content writer. I hate this.
Yeah. So yes and no. I think there's no replacement for sort of the creativity and judgment of a content creator. And like I mentioned before, Frase does not create finalized and use content. It is a research assistant. So if you have 10 content creators and they're spending roughly 50% of their time doing research in order to create great content, you absolutely can optimize and automate some of those writers. We've heard from, I think we have a case study from one of our customers that says that Frase is the equivalent of one full-time equivalent for that. I think it was in a marketing agency. And that's just because, whenever you're creating some content, maybe that content takes 3 hours and you spend an hour and a half researching. And with Frase, that maybe is, 15 minutes instead. So writers can do more in a day. But you know, I don't want to step on Lindsay's toes. Absolutely, Frase cannot create.
I'm irresponsible. That's my understanding.
Okay, great.
And it's more time for the writers to do what they're good at, which is the writing part of things.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah.
Some people in the chat room have been defending me. They also think I'm irreplaceable. Can questions be location specific?
Can questions be location specific? Good question. Not yet. But, oh, no, I'm lying. If you change your settings to a primary geography that's not, I mean, the default, I think, is the United States. But if you change this to Australia, for example, I believe, and I'll have to get back to you on, I can answer this question on the deal page later. I believe then questions would be specific to that geography.
Awesome. All right. I warned you that we would get an agency person. Agency. What are your, it's all caps. What are your plans to offer an agency license to early adopter Sumolings, where we can add multiple companies and company URLs and keep the reports and results separate?
Great question. And I was actually talking with the CEO about this exact question late last night. The bottom line is that we definitely want to improve the flow for agencies in the way that they manage their clients' accounts. Ideally, you know, having, you know, one account and being able to toggle between multiple different clients would be sort of the gold standard. So we're thinking about this a lot, you know, yesterday, today, tomorrow, next week, because it should be no surprise that we've added about, I don't know, 3,000 agencies to the platform in the last 3 days. So this is a big focus for ours, and we're a small team and we move pretty quick. So stay tuned.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. We have some questions in the chat room. You guys are making me break my rule, but they caught my attention. It's also, though, a question that we always get from our Sumolings, that I mentioned it before. What is on the roadmap / what are you most looking forward to that Sumolings have to look forward to as well?
Good question. The roadmap is, so we're developing a public roadmap that will be shared in the coming weeks with the community. I think the things that I'm probably most excited about are really around delivering content in the form of answers wherever your visitors are looking for them. So, you know, right now, it's no secret that the tool is very much focused on, you know, delivering answers on your website when visitors are on your website. But in the future, we're really interested in saying, you know, how can we incorporate voice into that? How can we incorporate, you know, delivering answers as featured snippets, an automated tool that helps do that? How can we do this via schema markup? You know, this is really the future of SEO. It's question answering, it's creating content, it's delivering that content anywhere that your audience asks for them. That's the direction that Frase is heading, and we're very excited about it.
Great, thank you. The other question is about integrations. This person asked nicely, Lindsay, can you please squeeze in my HubSpot integration question? What are the integrations, and is there a HubSpot one?
Yes, there is a HubSpot one. So there's a HubSpot integration that you can actually connect to your HubSpot CRM, which is what we use at Frase. And you can also connect your HubSpot chat to the answer assistant as well.
All right, I'm trying to get through all of these Sumolings. I would like to apologize if I missed your question. There are a lot here, but I would also like to point out that we've answered over 50 of them, so I'm quite proud of us. If you have any questions that still have not gotten answered, go ahead and send those to the Q&A box. I'm going to not look over at the chat room for questions anymore. If you just say, can my question be answered? Unfortunately, I probably won't scroll up to go find it. I'm sorry. All right. We have some questions of, do you have a Facebook community?
No, but that's the second time I've been asked that this week, and I think I should build one.
There's at least 2 people that'll be part of it.
Okay, great.
All right. What? All right. So what do content writers think of the briefs? Are they finding them better? And do the articles actually rank better? Is there any benchmark/test?
A benchmark for content briefs? God, I don't think so. I would love it if there were, because our content, our writers love the content brief. It's probably our most popular feature, and people are very loyal to it. So
great.
yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you.
What I will say as a content writer, I was really excited to see this tool. I was really excited. I do enjoy research, but wow, do I enjoy the organization of the research y'all pull. Like, looking at that content brief, it makes me happy.
Oh, great.
We have a lot of people in the chat that are going to join your Facebook group.
Okay, great.
So we have at least 6 members now. All right. So when you say there is a limit of 30 articles, is this applied to a completely finished article or just interactions with the tool?
Good question. So the limit to 30 articles, 30 documents, is on document generation, not existence. So for example, if I were to go in here and I were to say, if I were to say, best hot dog stores, and create a document off this, that's one document. If I delete this document, it's still one document because I've created this document. So hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, we have some people who are being mean in the Q&A. If you are mean in the Q&A, I will not ask your questions aloud. All right, what is the main difference between basic plan and growth plan apart from document limits?
That's the main difference, I would say. Yep.
Cool. We got that question a couple times. Great, thank you. This is from the person that's rude. Can you insert audio, ads, videos, and links on the website? Yeah.
Yep, you can add in your documents, I assume. Yep, you can add video and images to your documents. Great.
There will be, oh my gosh, this person, show us a demo. The demo was at the beginning. There is a replay of this available though, so you can watch this truly as many times as you want. It will be on YouTube. And yeah, all right. Do you have API on the roadmap?
You know what? That's a good question. I'll have to leave that to the engineers to answer. I will respond. I have 2 questions. I have a question about a Facebook group and a question about the API. I'll respond on the deal page with those questions.
Sure, no problem. Can we save our work for later? Like, can we save content briefs?
Yeah, sure. So you can see these documents that I've created. So I just created this best hot dog store. This is my overview page. If you just click a little logo, you'll be brought here. In this call, I've created top 10 yoga positions, optimizing Google for featured snippets, and best hot dog stores. So if we want to go back to yoga positions, we just click on it, and here we are.
All right. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and close. I think we're going to wrap this up for today. Sumolings, thank you so much for your questions. Let me come back on here. If you have any more questions, that was great. We've gotten some people in the chat. I've been keeping my eye on the chat. We have some people that just bought a couple codes. They can't wait to play with it. We love that. So if you've already gotten your codes, if you've redeemed your codes, go ahead and let us know in the comments how this is working for you. course, you can go to appsumo.com/phrase to redeem your codes today. And then if you have any more questions, you can go ahead and leave those on the deal page. It is available, this product's available for just $69. It's quite a steal. And I feel like it'll make all the difference for your content. And of course, it's backed by AppSumo's 60-day guarantee. So you can always go ahead and get set up, start playing with it, and see how it works for you. Thank you, everybody. Everybody is just leaving so many nice comments and saying thank you, and they're grabbing 2 codes today. Thank you so much. Everybody is loving everything. The comments are coming too quickly. But thank you so much, Matt, for hanging out with us today.
Thanks everyone for the support. It means a lot.
Awesome. All right, Sumolings, we can't wait to hear from you, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.